Hey guys, now that you've got the basics of actually how to boost a post and effectively use specific URLs into your website, we're going to take it to the next level and now kind of talk about selecting an appropriate audience for that Facebook boost um, to really maximize the dollar spend to reach the people you want to reach. Again, we don't want to necessarily spend a bunch of money reaching a bunch of high school girls who have no interest in buying side-by-sides. We want to narrow that funnel down to be as specific as possible, which is something you can do with Facebook. So again, from where we left off, we talked about this post, having a URL, and then we get down to the audience piece. You're going to want to hit the edit. It'll probably give you some type of default. Right now it's kind of defaulting to the last time I boosted, but I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And what's going to happen is you've got a bunch of demographics that you can start to figure out. So you can choose to target men, women, or all age group. You know, I maybe would want to bump this up a little bit. 18-year-olds typically don't have money to buy $20,000 side-by-sides. And then I'm going to show you kind of from a location standpoint how specific you can be. So I can get down to a postal code level. So if you know specifically that you have an ATVA share issue in a given postal code, I can target one specific postal code or maybe a county. Let's say Fairfax County. It's only going to bring up that particular county and that zip code. And again, this is all kind of cascading here. Or I can choose a particular city. I really like to use cities, and you'll see why. If I choose Washington, D.C., it also gives me this mileage tracker. So I can choose to bump that up to 50 miles. And the other cool thing is I can choose to target multiple cities. Let's say I want to do Richmond and Washington, D.C. It'll give me two separate circles for Washington, D.C. and Washington, D.C. and Richmond. So, and again, I'm targeting just these specific areas. So in Harrisonburg right here, none of my ads would reach out to anybody that lives in Harrisonburg. Last thing I'll show you, you can actually even drop a pin. So I could just randomly, if there's no city out in the country for whatever reason, if I double click, it'll drop that pin there. And again, from that pin, it'll show GPS coordinates, and I can again adjust up to 50 miles. So that's how you can be specific to a given location. Zip code, county level, state level, city level. City works really well because then you can start actually, building out these maps. Okay, so that's locations. When we get down to the interest, this is really important because you can see as I started drawing all these different circles, I've got over 810,000 people currently in this particular field that I'm targeting. If I take out that interest of motorcycles, that's going to pop up to be pretty significant. Right now, it's not really figuring out. But let's just, for time's sake here, I'm going to pop in Power Sports or Polaris. People are already interested in Polaris. So now from hitting that, the people that live in these defined regions that on Facebook also have an interest in Polaris, I'm only targeting 63,000 people, okay? Let's add maybe Can-Am. Let's talk about some of the competitors. Just because they bought a Can-Am doesn't mean they maybe wouldn't be interested in buying a Polaris too. So now we're increasing our range here. Let's maybe talk about Honda. Honda you got to be careful with because Honda sells cars. So you want to make sure you select the Honda motorcycles and ATVs. A little specific, so I might take that one out. Another thing you got to keep an eye out here is I'll type in Suzuki as an example. So Suzuki pops up as an employer and an interest. Okay. So I'm going to choose interest. And now I'm starting to build my audience up again. So on the side tangent of employer might be very helpful. Let's say, example, if you're doing a post on the Heroes Advantage program, the military discount program, you could actually look up Army and try to figure out what people are either interested in the U.S. Army or employed by the U.S. Army. So it's only reaching that Heroes Advantage only goes to military members and veterans. So, you can look at veteran type keywords to figure out who's actually going to be a part of that. Okay. So another thing, it's not very well explained on Facebook, but if you want to look at people that have interest in either, so this is an and or type thing. So they have interest in Can-Am and or Polaris and or Suzuki, but maybe I want to look at people that are interested in one of these three things, but also they have to be interested in a Polaris RZR. Okay. Okay. Now I'm getting really, really detailed stuff. So of all these people, I'm getting people that are interested in these brands and they're interested in Polaris RZR. So I'm down to like 1,000 people. It's a very, very targeted type of an approach. Or I could choose to exclude, I don't know why I would, but Yamaha motor. Okay. So now you can see I don't want to include anybody that has an interest in Yamaha motor. Now it basically gave me an audience that's way too specific. So Facebook does a pretty good job of telling you what audience is appropriate. Okay. So I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna go back to save. Again, this little dial is in the green arrow, so looks like we're good. All of that stuff saved. And the other thing is for your duration, you want to make sure you can do a couple different things. You can have it run for a set amount of days, or you can just choose the calendar and say, I want this to run through April 30th. And then you choose your total budget. It'll give you, based on your spend, how many people you reach per day, and go from there, hit boost, enter your credit card information, and you're good to go. So that's just some basics on how to select a specific audience, both from a demographic standpoint and a location standpoint. Hope this helps.